People who have cheated on their so, why didn't you just end the relationship? I wanted both things. And I was a selfish, immature cheat. I've never regretted anything more than hurting my partner like that. Same here. Me and my ex-wife was together for 9 years. Married for 2 of those years. We never fought or anything. Would do anything for each other. But it was basically we were living together. Not much more. I started getting attention from another woman and loved it. Ended up sleeping with her and came clean with my ex. Got divorced because she wouldn't trust me again and we weren't going to force it. The morning I told her was the only thing I regret. Seeing her collapse and be so broken. Took years to get over that. Definitely changed the way I treat my fiancé in our relationship. Fear of being alone. But that's the way it came. I had an ex who attempted to cheat on me for the same reason. When I caught him he said he was trying to find my replacement before I left him. This was at the end of what I had thought was a really great day. Where I paid for us to do yoga together. Get massages. And eat at a pretty decent restaurant. I was too stupid to trust my instincts and walk away at the time. Which would have saved me a whole world of hurt. Feels bad. Man. I honestly hate reading stuff like this cause it puts so many irrational worries into my mind. Just can't help taking a peek though. Immaturity. And a lot of insecurity. I was a teenager the only time I ever cheated and it wasn't even a thought process when I did it. It was really just I want that right now and the fact that I had a girlfriend didn't even cross my mind because I had never had to think of others' feelings in that way before. I was an insecure kid who thought that having a lot of sex meant I was masculine and it proved something. But now I know it's just a scum move. After the person I cheated with told my girlfriend, I learned really quickly what those actions meant and what kind of behavior is expected from a so. Wish I didn't have to hurt someone to figure it out though. I've never been in a relationship. But know 2 people who have cheated. Both said they still love their so. But something was missing and they sought that from other people. They didn't want to leave their current relationship. Because they were still getting something good from it. But something else important was missing. So they simply got that from another. I was in an abusive relationship but I didn't love myself enough to leave it. Same. Met a girl being abused and we shared sob stories over beer. One night she came over to vent and play Guitar Hero and it happened. We were both afraid to leave our BFGF for fear of reprisal. We kept it going for 3 months before finally deciding to own up to it. Both spouses switched to pleading mode and we kept each other strong enough to not go back. Eventually the relationship got stale when it wasn't about the cheating or the abuse from the people we were cheating on. Those were the only things we had in common and we split shortly after. I cheated with an ex long term so. That relationship was so dark and codependent and unhealthy. The breakup made me want to die. I was trying so hard to move on and put myself back together. I didn't want to end the new relationship. The ex was like my kryptonite. It took a long time to be able to not get sucked back in. It was because of my own baggage, not the new so. I screwed up. Due to low self-esteem. I thrived off attention. So rather than saying no thank you, I have a girlfriend, I'd let things continue. But at the same time, I also craved stability. So never wanted to break things off with said girlfriend. There's nothing I regret more than hurting my ex like I didn't. Karma finally caught up with me a few years later when I was cheated on by a different girlfriend. Repeatedly. I didn't end that relationship after I found out about her cheating the first time. As I felt I deserved it from my past tittiness. I vowed never to cheat again. Especially after feeling the pain myself. Edited for clarity. Sorry, just here looking for my ex. You'll never get the answer you deserve. What happened? I was crossfaded to the point where I didn't really know what was happening. As a part of a spin the bottle game I found myself in. I ended up making out with about 5 people. Why I did it, at first I told myself it was a drunken mistake. That I wouldn't have done it if I was sober or even moderately drunk. which I'm sure is actually true. But looking back at it, I wasn't that happy. And it was only about a month into the relationship. I'd known by the third date that it wasn't going to work out in the end. We got along well, but something just didn't feel right. I think that might have played a part in what I did. Why didn't I end the relationship before? He was a great person, and I didn't think I could do any better. Congrats. OP. You just made me have a breakthrough on this situation. That was a really good question. Because if I even mentioned cutting things off with him, he would hit and throw things at me until I bled and bruised. He was a very morbid man, which didn't show until years into the relationship to begin with. I cheated on him because the person I went to as a safe haven in between assaults made me feel safe and made me feel loved. And I didn't have a feeling of I need to get out of here constantly weighing on my mind. Luckily, I got out of the relationship with help of friends. And I have a daughter with my safe haven. We're married. And he's not so much as raised a hand at me. I'm safe. It was a dead bedroom situation. And not just no sex, but no intimacy, no connection and fairly toxic. But I felt stuck in the overall relationship and didn't know how to get out. The first time I had an affair, it was more of an impulsive mistake that I regretted deeply and said, I'll never do that again. I tried to make the marriage work, but a few years later it wasn't. And I thought having a sexual romantic affair would round out things that were missing in my life and make things survivable. Instead, after barely even meeting up with the other man, it made me realize, I can't do this. I need to decide between being married or not. I was separated and divorced 2 months later. So, I guess I only half qualify to answer the question because it's not like I continued merrily along with the relationship. As someone that's been cheated on, I just want to say I appreciate the level of honesty in this thread from past cheaters. I've met people that have cheated on partners and seriously didn't think it was a big deal or even that it was somehow a good thing that they did it. One of them was an ex of mine. Granted, they are likely straight up narcissists, as they are 100% only thinking of themselves and in no way consider the impact that it had on their partner. But yay. I just wanted to say I appreciate the honesty and remorse. I like to think it's one of those mistakes in life that people only make once. But unfortunately, as with all things, we know that isn't always the case. I was with my ex for 7 years. He was incredibly emotionally abusive. He constantly called me fat, compared me to his female friends and made sure I knew he wanted to duck them. Told me no other guy would ever want me. He eventually got to the point of changing the Wi-Fi password and making me do tasks to get it. Taking TV remotes, my phone etc. I was afraid to leave my house because of him. I had pretty severe bipolar disorder and issues with self-harming. I was on medicine and 4 years cut-free at this point. We were supposed to be going on a trip to Colorado. About a week before he told me he only loved me as a friend but wanted to stay with me because he didn't know how to be alone. I was devastated, but didn't think I was mentally or financially independent to leave. He had basically isolated me from all of my friends and I moved away from family to be with him. We decided to stay together and just work on things. Essentially we both just hoped he would start loving me again, I guess. The day we were leaving for CO, he informed me he never bought my ticket and never intended on me going. I stayed home and cheated while he was on that trip. As soon as he came home I told him. I felt awful. I knew there was no excuse for what I did regardless of how he treated me. I told him I wanted to leave. We broke up but continued living together for the next 6 months. Him mostly trying to fix our relationship while I just wanted to bury my pain in other people. It was truly awful and I wish I would have just been strong enough to leave rather than cheat. I will regret it probably for the rest of my life, although I am ultimately thankful our relationship ended. Why the hell do people come in here to downvote actual answers? Jesus Christ, people. The question's very nature brings in people who have made mistakes or are currently making a mistake. You're just ducking up the real content for the rest of us. I was in a relationship for a year before my boyfriend admitted to me he had a wife and kids. You can't imagine the lengths he went to hide his family from me. I had absolutely no idea. The only thing that could have been a clue is that I never went to his place. He always came to mine. Anyway, after he confessed, he said he was going to get divorced. He had been contemplating it since before he met me. Blah blah blah. After realizing that he wasn't actually going to do it, and also that I didn't actually want him and to be a home wrecker, I ended it. He told me he couldn't risk losing his kids in a custody battle. Which I got. But it pissed me off so much how sad and hurt he was that I was leaving him. Anytime I started to miss him afterwards, I just reminded myself he is a selfish duck who jeopardized his family because he married someone who, in his words, he never even liked. If you find yourself in a similar situation, remember, this person might have genuine feelings for you, but they are a terrible human being and someone you can't trust to build a life with. Get out. Cheated on a highly abusive ex. The relationship was long done in my head before I ever cheated, and I didn't end it because I was on the receiving end of the "without you I'll heal myself" narrative. I was 18 and genuinely believed he would. Didn't realize how horrific the abuse was until years after we broke up. I was searching for one like this. I totally get why you did that, and I did too. And it's just so crazy to think about how horrible people can be to you. There is an old saying, a person would rather hang their arm out of a bus window and have it ripped off by oncoming traffic than to deal with ending a long-term relationship in the right way. I was young and stupid, and I didn't think about how my actions would impact other people. Or I felt like I got lost in it emotionally. I didn't have the self-restraint. I wasn't used to someone liking me, and I felt like if I didn't take the opportunity to interact with someone who was interested in me, I would never get the opportunity again. There's a lot of factors. I read a theory that the general reason is that there is sometimes a big difference between the person you want to go home to vs someone you randomly want to shag. Society says we are not allowed to do that because once in a relationship we are owned by that person and any physical intimacy has to be exclusive. Human beings aren't necessarily built that way. Maybe not all of them anyway. So they are socially pressured into believing that going off elsewhere is wrong. Then psychologically that then becomes an exciting thought and fantasy because we also like to take risks and do things we shouldn't. I'm a bit different from most of the other comments. I started getting unhappy, noticing the little annoying things more, and started to resent her and myself for the person I was becoming. Made a mistake in not communicating this cause I was afraid of hurting her by telling her I loved her but wasn't in love. After about 7 months of this, I got drunk at a party and made the choice to have sex with a random chick. I made out with her, but my best friend stopped me 3-4 separate times before I could go any farther. Felt like a piece of shit once I was sober. Never told her, GF at the time, this, but knew I'd do it again, and I wouldn't be stopped if I stayed in that situation, so broke up with her 2 weeks later in person. Had been long distance for 2 months at the time. TBH, I think it was the push I needed to finally be able to break up with her. Just wish I hadn't needed to betray my morals and the trust I had in myself to do it. Was my first long-term relationship. Feeling insecure. Seeking attention elsewhere. Afraid of being alone. I want to say he was manipulative. I want to believe he mistreated me. But really, he was insecure and had anger issues. It wasn't his fault. I didn't understand. I came clean and he's barely survived it. Hope he is doing alright. They want the thrill of cheating but the stability of the relationship. So they cheat and don't tell in order to maintain both options. From someone whose entire life was recently destroyed. Just a quick duck you tell the cheaters in reading this thread. When I cheated, it wasn't at all planned and was totally random during a drunken night. I told her about it as soon as I could and the relationship ended. Long distance. Didn't want to break up over the phone. Also, I felt like I was guilted into a relationship after having what I thought would just be a fling when I worked abroad. I was never truly in love. And the relationship could never have worked out since we were from different cultures and neither of us wished to make a permanent move. Still wrong though. These are not excuses. Just explanations. It was my first relationship and I didn't have the backbone to end it. She was far away and the girl I was really in love with confessed her feelings to me and it went from there. My girlfriend broke up with me shortly after because she wanted to travel the world. And I never told her I cheated on her. I feel bad for not telling her. But it ended amicably and I don't see a reason to hurt her just to ease my own guilt. If only my ex would answer this. We were on the outs. It was painfully obvious. We lived together and agreed to see other people but not rub in the other's face or bring them home. Little did I know she had recently been seeing someone. And worse. Lied about visiting family to go with him. Here's the weird thing. I was completely amicable to the idea of dating other people. There was absolutely zero reason to lie about it. She could have just said she was attracted to him and I would have told her to get her some of that. The cheating really didn't hurt. The ducking lying did. I felt so betrayed. She didn't ever tell me. I found out 6 months later. It destroyed my trust in women. Which took years to get back. Why did she lie? Doesn't eat away at me anymore. I have since been in serious relationship and confronted those trust issues, but duck man. So much wasted time on stuff that shouldn't have even existed.